I knew the exact moment this company started falling apart. It wasn't when the stock dipped, and it wasn't when they replaced the break room coffee with some organic sludge that tasted like diluted dishwater. It was the moment Cole walked in. Cole was the new CTO, a venture capital experiment wrapped in a fitted vest and the scent of sandalwood mixed with untested confidence. He strutted into the conference room like Moses parting the Red Sea, except the sea was just a herd of exhausted middle-aged engineers silently praying for severance packages. I sat in the corner, clutching a styrofoam cup of lukewarm coffee. 6 years in tech, which means I was basically a fossil, a ghost in the system. The reason the servers didn't spontaneously combust every Black Friday. But to Cole, I was just a woman in a hoodie who looked like she needed sleep, and maybe a cigarette break. He opened the meeting with an awkward clap. "Listen up, team," he said, flashing a smile so bright it bounced off the overhead lights. "The current architecture is legacy garbage. We're pivoting to a microservices, AI-driven ecosystem before Q3. I squinted at the slide he threw on the screen, a mess of meaningless circles and arrows that looked like a toddler's doodle while high on Adderall. And then it hit me. What he wanted to delete was Quantum Core, the central logic system I built in 2020 during the logistics meltdown that nearly bankrupted this company before my code pulled it back from the grave. In that moment, I understood something with crystal clarity. This company wasn't going to die because of hardship. It was going to die because of Cole. Cole kept rambling about his groundbreaking future vision, while I tried not to gag. He pointed at a sloppy diagram like he had just reinvented electricity. And then, the inevitable happened. Cole proposed deleting the entire central logic layer, the thing he proudly called legacy garbage. But to me, that garbage was Quantum Core, the brain that processed 90% of our vendor compliance, the same system that saved the company during the 2020 logistics meltdown when the entire world collapsed like a house of cards in a hurricane. I wasn't planning to speak. For 6 years, I just built, patched, fixed, and stayed quiet. But this time, the words escaped me like a survival instinct. "Excuse me," I said, my voice so hoarse the whole room turned, probably because they forgot I existed. "That garbage you're talking about is the only thing keeping this company from getting lobotomized." Cole turned around and gave me that rehearsed bro smile, the kind he probably practiced in the mirror every morning. He looked me up and down. Messy bun, faded Nostromo crew t-shirt, old jeans. His evaluation took 2 seconds, but felt like a full judgment. "And you are?" he asked, pretending not to know me, which nearly made a few people choke on their coffee. "I'm Harper," I said, not bothering to elaborate. "I built the backbone you're trying to delete." Cole let out a wet, condescending chuckle. "Right, Harper. Look, sweetheart, we appreciate whatever you did back in the day, but we're not running a museum. Your monolithic patchwork is holding us hostage. We need agility. We need velocity." The word sweetheart hit the air like a rotten egg cracking open in mid-July. Everyone suddenly looked very interested in their laptops. Because they knew something Cole didn't. I wasn't some outdated legacy employee he could toss out. Back in 2018, when the company was a chaotic startup juggling 3 lawsuits and a dream, they couldn't afford to hire me. So I signed something different, a licensing agreement, not an employment contract. Cole thought he was talking to a rusty cog in the machine. He had no idea he was talking to the owner of the entire machine. I didn't say anything else. I didn't need to. A shark doesn't roar. It just waits for blood to spread in the water. And Cole, unfortunately for him, was ripping himself open without even knowing it. In the days that followed, the freeze-out began creeping in as quietly as black mold behind a bathroom wall. First, meeting invites started disappearing from my Outlook. Architecture review? Gone. Strategy sync? Gone. I sat in my cubicle, listening to laughter echo from the glass conference room just 10 feet away. Cole stood inside, waving his arms around as he erased the functional diagrams I built with sweat, caffeine, and sleep deprivation, replacing them with words like holistic synergy, full cloud reimagining, and AI forward restructuring. It looked like a cheap TED Talk he wrote after binge-watching YouTube titles for inspiration. Then came Zach, the brand new product evangelist. He looked like a freshman who had never seen a server room in his life. Holding a matcha latte, he walked up to my desk with a smile bright enough to power a small city. "Hey, Harper, right? Cole said you're like a legacy historian. I'd love to pick your brain about the old code before we deprecate it." Historian. Deprecate. I slowly swiveled my chair toward him. "Zach, do you know what a load balancer is?" Yeah, concept-wise. We use AWS. It's serverless, right?" I turned back to my screen. Right, because the cloud is magic pixie dust, not actual hardware in a warehouse in Virginia that melts if you write stupid queries. Zach walked away confused. I almost felt bad for him. Almost. By Thursday, my staging access was revoked. A system email arrived with the note, "Updated by admin Cole." I wasn't angry. I wasn't worried. I simply opened my beaten-up Lenovo, the laptop that held the keys to the entire kingdom. I checked the account for my company, Ironclad Logic, LLC. First day of the month, new quarter. The licensing payment didn't show up. A thin smile crossed my face. They thought firing me meant the contract ended. They forgot one thing. I wasn't an employee. I was a vendor. And they had just breached the contract. By Friday afternoon, the email hit my inbox like a death crow landing on my desk. Subject, quick sync. Time, 4:30 p.m. Location, meeting room B. The glass fishbowl next to the elevators, the one designed so everyone walking by can clearly see HR carving you open. I knew this move. 4:30 p.m. on a Friday. Classic corporate termination 101. Do it right before the weekend so the employee can't fight back and the survivors forget you existed by Monday. I packed a few belongings. My lucky screwdriver set, an old photo, and the half-alive succulent barely clinging to life under fluorescent lighting. I wiped the company laptop clean, not because I had anything to hide, but because I'm a professional. Professionals don't leave fingerprints. 4:30 p.m. I walked into meeting room B. Cole was leaning against the wall, arms crossed, posing like he was auditioning for a Forbes cover shoot. At the table sat Carol, the HR rep with a professionally trained, sad smile. She looked like she was attending her own funeral. "Have a seat, Harper," Carol said softly, like she was soothing a startled horse. Cole, of course, wasn't nearly as gentle. "Let's make this quick," he cut in. "We're restructuring. Your skill set doesn't align with our new high-velocity vision." High velocity, the favorite buzzword of people who've never deployed code into production. "Effective immediately," Cole continued. "We're terminating your employment." Carol slid a stack of papers toward me. NDA, non-disparagement, 2 weeks of severance, the standard "please disappear quietly" package. I didn't touch the papers. "Just to be clear," I said, voice calm enough to make Cole twitch. "You're ending all professional relationships with me. Cole smirked. That's right, sweetheart. Fired means fired. I placed my badge on the table, set the company laptop beside it. That wrapped up the employee part. Now for the vendor part. Good, I said, opening my folder. Since the employment portion is done, we need to talk about the licensing contract. Cole frowned. The what? I rotated the document toward them. Ironclad Logic LLC licensing agreement, 2018 to present. I don't work for you, I said. I license you the software that runs your entire company. Cole's face went from pink to white in 3 seconds. And finally, he understood. They hadn't fired an employee. They had just evicted the landlord of the house they were still living in. I left meeting room B with a calm so steady that Carol nearly dropped her stack of paperwork. No shouting, no tears, no dramatic chair throwing like on TV. I simply picked up my folder, closed the door behind me, and walked straight toward my old cubicle, the place I no longer belonged to. Cole thought he'd won. Cole thought he'd finally eliminated the legacy garbage. Cole had no idea he'd just cracked open the lid of the uranium vault I'd guarded for 6 years. I opened my battered old Lenovo, the one that had survived 3 coffee spills and a minor earthquake. I logged into the Ironclad Logic admin console, hosted on a server in some Estonian basement where an elderly Baltic man gets $50 a month to make sure it doesn't flood. I checked the license status. Grace period. Payment still missing. They'd skipped the deadline. I smiled. A small, sharp smile. Cole thought firing me erased the licensing contract? No. I wasn't an employee. I was a vendor. And vendors come with clauses. Clause 3.1. Failure to pay equals breach of contract. Clause 3.2. No cure period for intentional non-payment. Clause 6. Special measures, or, as I lovingly call it, the nuclear option. I switched the system from grace period to strict enforcement. I typed, revoke license key 001, but didn't hit enter. I'm polite. I let them enjoy the rest of their weekend. And I enjoyed mine doing things I hadn't had time for in years. Sleeping till 9, eating a greasy egg sandwich at the corner diner, rewatching 3 episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia just to watch Danny DeVito eat trash. By Sunday, the first warning signs appeared. QuantumOps systems couldn't reach the license server. Bots started screaming. Automated scripts emailed my burner phone nonstop. I turned notifications off. Monday, 7:55 a.m. I opened my laptop. Placed my finger on enter. 8 a.m. Peak load hour. Orders, payroll, vendors, inventory, everything needed to fire at full speed. I whispered, paragraph 4, and pressed enter. The screen flickered. Inventory module, unlicensed. Vendor API, access denied. Payroll gateway, critical failure. Everything turned blazing red beautiful, like 4th of July fireworks. 3 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Evan, Harper, everything is down. Cole is screaming, he kicked a server rack, we're doomed. I took a sip of cold coffee. Good luck, I texted back. Stay away from him. A man without access is dangerous. QuantumOps had officially descended into chaos. As for me, I was just getting warmed up. 8:03 a.m. It wasn't Cole calling. It wasn't CEO Lawson calling. It was the PagerDuty bot, the one I completely forgot to unsubscribe from. Alert. SEV1. Critical outage. Payment required. I laughed. My system really was polite. It didn't scream, didn't curse. It simply stated the truth. Pay up before you talk to me. 8:15 a.m. My phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Voicemail. Third time, I picked up. Harper, this is Cole. His voice was an octave higher than usual, like someone was gently but firmly choking him. I could hear pure chaos behind him, shouting, phones exploding with alerts, the server room door being slammed like someone was trying to break it down. Who? I asked, pouring more coffee, pretending I'd just woken up. Cole, the CTO. The system is down. All of it. Did you leave some kind of logic bomb? Oh no, I replied, calm as a papaya salad. I don't work there anymore. Remember? You fired me. Harper, it says the license is valid. What did you do? I sighed. Did you pay the invoice, Cole? Invoice? We're not paying that. It's extortion. It's a contract, I corrected him. And since you didn't pay, and since you terminated on-site support, the software defaulted to off. Then a second call came through, stacking right on top of Cole's. Caller ID, Quantum Ops HQ. I hit accept. Harper, this is Lawson. His voice was deep, but trembling the tone of a man who believed every problem could be solved with either a golf game or an overpriced bottle of bourbon. Morning, Lawson, I said, watering the cactus on my windowsill. Rough day? Harper, listen, he began, syrupy sweet, which meant a storm was coming. Emotions are high. Cole made a mistake. He's young. Just turn it all back on and come in. We'll talk about a raise. A big one. I let out a soft laugh. Lawson, I don't want a raise, and I don't want my job back. Then what do you want? I want you to understand one simple thing, I said, standing and looking out at the morning street. You didn't fire an employee. You fired the owner of the platform that runs your entire company. The line went dead silent. 5 whole seconds. Then Lawson whispered like a man chewing on a painful truth. Oh, God. Lawson inhaled sharply, the sound tight and strangled, like he'd just realized that his $100 million company was standing on a foundation held up by a single thread, a thread he had personally just cut. Harper, Lawson said, forcing his voice into that fake calm CEOs use when they can feel shareholders sharpening axes outside the boardroom. Just fix it. We can negotiate something reasonable. I don't want something reasonable, I replied, pouring myself more cold coffee. I want you to understand the rules. This isn't emotional. This is contractual. Chaos erupted on the other end. I heard shouting, and something almost certainly thrown by Cole slammed against a wall. Harper, the company is losing $10,000 a minute, Lawson said, panic rising in his voice. Tell me what it takes. Good, I said, opening my laptop and propping my feet on the table. You have 2 options. I let the silence linger for 3 perfect seconds, just long enough for the chill to crawl down his spine. Option A, I said. You rebuild the system yourselves. Cole said he could make some microservices, AI, cloud-native whatever. Great, let him do it. It took me 6 years to build Quantum Core. Cole can probably rebuild it in 6 hours. Someone on his end screamed, "We can't rebuild this." I smiled. Didn't think so. Lawson swallowed hard. Option B? You buy the entire IP, perpetual license, source code, architecture, documentation, everything. Fine, Lawson snapped immediately. How much? 50,000? 100? I almost choked on my coffee. Lawson, $100,000 buys you a consultant who makes pretty PowerPoints, not the brain of your entire company. Then name your price. I opened the market valuation file, took a slow breath, and enunciated each word. 2.6 million. Silence. Complete, surgical silence. I could even hear Cole's weak, dying exhale in the background. Harper, that's insane, Lawson roared. That's extortion. No, I said calmly. That's valuation. Exactly 1% of the revenue my code saved you during the pandemic. Plus emotional damages for Cole calling me sweetheart. Non-refundable. Panicked whispers exploded. The legal team was clearly flipping through paperwork, trying to find any escape route. Harper. Lawson's voice was now that of a man drowning. We need time. You have 59 minutes, I said. In 60, the system initiates the data compliance purge. Data purge? Someone screamed. Compliance law, Lawson. I'm just following security protocol. Lawson exhaled shakily. Send the DocuSign. I took a sip of coffee and smiled. Harper, 1, Quantum Ops, 0. I sent the DocuSign and the $2.6 million invoice to Lawson's personal email, not his corporate inbox, because their authentication servers were as dead as a fish sun-drying on concrete. 5 minutes later, Evan texted. Evan, Harper, legal is screaming. Cole's crying. Someone asked if you hacked us. Sharon, the lawyer, said, "This isn't hacking. This is consequences." I burst out laughing. Sharon had always been the only person in that entire building with a functioning brain. 10:14 a.m. My phone rang. Caller ID, Lawson's iPhone. Harper, Lawson said, breathless. Legal confirmed everything. The contract is airtight. Ironclad. Logic. He let out a pained little laugh. Pun intended. Good. Did you send the money? I asked, opening my terminal with the undo purge commands ready. We're wiring it now, but please tell me the data purge won't actually destroy our records. I'm a professional, Lawson. I took a sip of cold coffee and said softly, I don't delete customer data. Oh, thank God. I just store it in cold storage you can't access. Silence. Complete, holy church level silence. In the background, Cole squeaked, Is she allowed to do that? Sharon replied, She wrote the contract. Sit down. 1 minute later, my phone buzzed. Incoming wire transfer. $2,600,000. Quantum Ops, Inc. Beautiful. Like a haiku written entirely in money. Lawson, I said, fingers already on the keyboard. Funds received. Restore it, please. I typed, Update last status dynance, perpetual, cancel purge surname, sync all nodes. Enter. The screen flicked from red to green like a Christmas miracle. Evan texted instantly. We're back. People are cheering. Someone hugged a server. Cole looks like he aged 12 years. I smiled, tired, satisfied, Not vindictive, but complete. It wasn't revenge. It was closure. Sharon called next. "Transfer complete. System stable," she said. "And Harper? Congratulations. You just retired early." I leaned back, feeling the adrenaline drain out of me like low tide. It was done. Quantum Ops was saved. But they paid the exact price they disrespected for 6 straight years. And me? I had just bought myself clean, drama-free freedom. I stood up, closed my laptop. Harper no longer belonged to Quantum Ops. But the victory was mine entirely. 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after I liberated Quantum Ops from their own stupidity, I found myself sitting in the lobby of Apex Logistics, the biggest, meanest, richest competitor in the industry. They were Coke. Quantum Ops was Pepsi, if someone had watered Pepsi down with pond water. I wore a blazer, my hair neatly tied back, consultant chic. Respectable enough for HR, suspicious enough for engineers. The door opened. Stan, their director of engineering, a man who looked like a walrus wearing a button-down, stepped in with a grin bigger than the oak conference table behind him. "Harper, I heard you're a free agent now," he boomed, shaking my hand hard enough that I heard a joint crack. "Rumor says you burned Quantum Ops to the ground and then sold them the ashes." "I just enforced a contract," I said, taking a seat. "Strictly business." We got straight to the point. Apex had the same problem Quantum Ops did, only worse. Their vendor compliance module ran slower than dial-up and crashed like a row of dominoes. "We heard Quantum Ops had some kind of miracle system," Stan said. "Miracle code." "There's no miracle," I said. "Just graph theory and caching in the right places. And yes, I built it." "Can you build it for us?" "I can't give you the old code," I said, sliding a folder onto the table. "I sold it. Contract is contract." Stan looked disappointed for exactly 1 second, until I pushed a different folder toward him. "But I have something else," I said. "Completely new architecture, Rust-based, high concurrency, 0 bottlenecks. It won't just outperform Quantum Core. It'll humiliate it." Stan opened the folder. His eyes lit up like he'd just won the lottery. "How long?" 6 months, I said. "If you give me a team that actually knows what a pointer is. No Coles, no evangelists, no buzzwords." "And the fee?" "Consulting fee plus equity." Stan didn't even blink. "Deal." I walked out of Apex HQ with a contract that made $2.6 million look like steakhouse tip money. And for the first time in years, I felt excited to code not to save a sinking ship, but to build something sleek, powerful, and damn near beautiful. 6 months later, Apex Prime launched. Faster, leaner, crash-proof. Quantum Ops lost 40% of its value in a single quarter. It wasn't revenge. Harper just did business. And in business, you don't have to be better than your competition. You just have to let them hang themselves with the rope they thought was yours. 6 months after Apex Prime launched and steamrolled the market like a bulldozer flattening a bowl of noodles, I was sitting in my newly renovated living room, wine glass in hand, feet propped up on a walnut coffee table. The apartment that once smelled like Nag Champa and overheated circuits now glowed with expensive sandalwood candles and the soft fragrance of poetic revenge. On the wall, right behind the 4K TV I use exclusively for Danny DeVito movies, hung a framed copy of the old licensing agreement. the one that cost Quantum Ops $2.6 million and nearly sent Cole into a TikTok-worthy meltdown. It's art, not the kind you show off, but the kind that whispers, "Never sell yourself cheap." Meanwhile, the outside world was serving entertainment just as satisfying. Quantum Ops spiraled exactly the way I predicted. Their entire engineering department, now composed of terrified juniors afraid to touch any line of code, treated every deploy like a sacrificial ritual. Vendors were furious. Systems randomly flickered off. Bug budgets ballooned like overinflated balloons. And Cole? Oh, Cole. He didn't get fired. Of course not. Guys like him always have an uncle on the board. But he was reassigned to special projects, which, in corporate dialect, means go sit in a storage room, don't touch anything, and try not to break the building. Rumor has it he's currently researching blockchain supply chain automation. In other words, he pivoted to crypto, the promised land of people selling pure vapor. Some say I destroyed Cole's career. I didn't. He did that himself. I merely turned on the lights so everyone could see. As for me, life runs smoother than a high RAM server. My work at Apex is challenging in all the right ways. My new team respects me with the purest form of American tech culture. You're good plus you're not dramatic equals you're a goddess. My bank account could fund early retirement anytime I feel like it. Evan still texts me quantum ops drama like he's sending intel to the CIA. I'm not storybook happy, but I'm satisfied, balanced, free. And sometimes, when I watch the logs glide through the Apex Prime system, clean, fast, flawless, I think about women like me, the invisible architects, the ones carrying entire companies on their backs, while guys like Cole take the stage and soak up applause. We're here. We see everything. And most importantly, we always keep the keys. As for Cole, well, the next time a Patagonia-vested tech bro calls you sweetheart, remember, don't argue, don't yell. Just make sure you own the house. And if you ever have to burn it down, make damn sure they pay for the match.